Hey, thanks for joining me today. Before we get to today's episode, I want to give a big shout out to Tiny Horse Film Studios located here in the Waterloo region. They have all your camera grip and lighting needs in house at this studio for your next project, so check them out. Now, let's jump in today's interview. Thank you very much, Tim, for joining us today. Can you tell us exactly what do you do and how long have you been doing it in the film industry?
Yeah, my name's Tim Hutchison. I'm a director of photography here in Ontario, and I've been a freelance cinematographer for 13 years now.
Wow.
I know, so long.
It goes by so quickly. So now, more specifically, like, where do you find yourself as a DP? Long form, narrative, commercial, independent, corporate?
Yeah, it's kind of been a an evolving process, I would say, through my career. I would say right off the bat, I was very involved in like long form documentary, especially when digital media was coming first on the scene, and there was a lot of grants and stuff like that. So I shot a lot of episodic, short form documentary stuff that would eventually get repackaged into long form. So I've kind of stayed in the documentary world probably my whole career. Um, and
And
then
sorry, how did you fall into that exactly?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that like when I graduated from Sheridan back in 2000, let me make sure I do my math right. 2011, when I graduated from Sheridan in 2011, I immediately went into an internship at a production company here in Kitchener Waterloo, and had a lot of opportunity to get hands on with the camera immediately, which I think was a really unique um, thing to have happen back then. It's just like back then, like cameras weren't as readily available as they are now. It's like the stuff, if you had one that you were able to use or somebody owned one, it's like you treated that thing like a piece of gold. Like it was just like, this 5D Mark II is the only 5D Mark. This HVX 100 is the, or HVX 200 is the only one in the world. Um, so I had a lot of hands-on time with the camera really, really early on, and was working with like a couple young guys in a small company, and we just shot and shot and shot. We did 2 feature films, tons of commercials, stuff that air broadcast, and we were just shooting everything. So it was kind of like after that that I was approached by a producer who worked for the CBC and worked in the documentary world, and he just kind of gave me my first shot at doing that.
Cool.
Hmm.
And then where did that take you after that?
Yeah, so I was doing. Again, this is a long time ago, so I really got to dive in. Yeah, I was in the documentary world for a while, until probably 2015. Pretty much like doing a few different shows at a time, kind of traveling around North America, traveling overseas, shooting these documentaries, focusing a lot of time on doing work with indigenous people, and trying to think what else was I did a documentary with Jordan Peterson. I did like my first documentary was about dogs, and that kind of brought me to like 2016. And in 2016, I was nominated for a Canadian Screen Award for it was actually funny. It was a show about dogs that I did called Secret Tales of the Dog Park. And it was like right when slow motion cameras became available. So we shot the entire show at like 240 frames per second. And it was just like, at the time, just mind blowing. Um, and then from there, it's like that was just kind of a stepping stone for me to be able to start getting involved with new stuff, making new relationships, um, and kind of dipping my feet in some other work as well.
So then, how do you find work nowadays? What is your
Yeah.
process?
Yeah, nowadays it's different, in the sense that I feel like in around 2019 I kind of shifted from doing all of this long form documentary and travel stuff, um, with the approach of me having my first child. I just kind of knew that I didn't want to be gone all the time. And I knew that my priorities were going to need to shift. So it's like through that, I just needed to start thinking about what I wanted my career to look like long term. So from that, I started shifting more into um, at that time, probably a bit into the more into the corporate space, where it's like we were doing high fidelity corporate work that would be shown internally, externally, online. And I was kind of in that space for a while, but still had a lot of space for creativity that I was able to bring from the documentary world. And now that's kind of shifted into doing higher fidelity commercials, a lot of stuff for broadcast, um, or just like cross media platform release.
So trying to find new clients then, are you approaching corporate production companies? How are you going about drumming up that new business for that next job? Or is a lot of it just repeat or
Yeah, I would say that whenever this is very much for me, I would say whenever I try to put effort into like advertising myself or like creating stuff, as soon as I get like the momentum to do that, all of a sudden the work comes in and I get too busy and I forget about all of that. So it's just like it's kind of this cyclical thing where it's like now being in this for a long time, it's like I know when the slow seasons are going to come. Like there's at least a month a year that I can just guarantee that it's going to be a slow season.
and what month is that?
It's always Decenduary.
That's a new one. I like the sanctuary.
Decenduary. It's a hybrid of December and January. But it's like now instead of stressing about that, it's like knowing that that's coming. It's like you can prepare through the year so that you can actually enjoy yourself and enjoy the time off, and that's a lot. That's really valuable now, having 2 small kids and a wife and a family and all that. So yeah, I personally like I don't put a lot of time into like business development. It's like I put a lot of time into relationship development. So it's like I'm a lot more interested in finding people that are interesting and people that I think are talented and want to do stuff, and then figure out how I can align with them to help create something, rather than looking at a business and being like, oh, it's like they're doing a lot of stuff, maybe I can interject myself into that. It's like that's not really what I'm super interested in.
So would you advise that same kind of strategy for other people that are just starting to get into that?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say like as much as I am on set, I am relationship building twice as much outside of that. It's like if I can, my kind of goal is to be on set shooting like 100 days a year. It's like that's kind of like where I would like to be. And then the rest of that is like it's like you can say building relationship, like it's like DMing people on Instagram, but it's also going out and like being involved in the community and meeting people. It's like it's going out, like I like playing sports, so it's like I meet people out there playing sports.
So
I
just
like
almost
doing
everything's a
volunteer
networking event.
everything. It's like you just like, and I think that kind of came from being in the documentary world, where you just have an ingrained curiosity about people's stories. It's just like, and whether that's somebody who happens to own a not-for-profit and they're trying to get it off the ground, and I'm like, well, I have some free time coming up. It's like I have no issue like trying to help create you something for this, just to like help empower you. Or you meet somebody who's a business owner and like it's like, oh, it's like this is something that we've been thinking of doing. We're willing to put some money or whatever behind it to actually make something cool. And I feel like whenever you go after those opportunities, that's where kind of the best stuff comes out of.
Now, when you're approaching some of those not-for-profits or something, are you cutting them any type of a discount when you're kind of developing that or building that out, or are they usually of a certain size that you're still kind of charging full rates?
Yeah, I don't know. Here's my thing, and like this might not be a great business practice, but like I love what I do so much that I would do it for free for everybody. Um, and I think a lot of that just comes from like I've been shooting for our church for a long time and shooting with friends and just shooting stuff for a long time that's done for free. It's like, and I really try to bring as much effort to that stuff as I do the stuff that's paid. And generally, the stuff that you're not getting paid for is an opportunity for you to make mistakes, try new stuff because the stakes are much lower. And then you're able to take the stuff that you learn and be like, oh yeah, I'm applying this cool, weird thing that I tried here for free and bringing it into a commercial space where the stakes are a little bit higher. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's just, I think that if I got so bogged down with just trying to see like rapid growth and be so busy, I think that it would really just take away from the largest part of all this that I enjoy, and that's just like the relationship building and working with people collaboratively.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things too I've always seen in you is just your genuine love and passion for what you do.
Yeah, I appreciate
Like
that.
it would like especially like onset, offset, you just
Mhm.
have that same just great just great positive attitude.
Mm.
And it's just like a lot of people, like once we get on set, it's like, oh, I just feel that weight, or it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I hate this, but then I love this, I hate this. I was like, you just have a just general love for what you
Mm-hmm.
do on and off screen. And you're just saying it right yourself, right? You're always on, always loving, always trying to figure that out, finding
Mm-hmm.
those new business contacts and
Yeah.
relationships. I mean, you just said it right there. You just
Yeah.
nailed it.
And here's the thing too, it's just like it wouldn't be any fun if it was just like stressful and hard all the time. Like that's not to say that like I every set that I go on, I'm just like la, la, la. It's just like I like can get mean and sad. Like I can get mean and sad.
We're allowed to have those emotions.
Yeah, we're allowed to get mean and sad sometimes, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like you're there with a creative group of people to make an end product that you can be proud of and that the client is proud of or whoever that you're working for. It's like, so why not just like try to focus on that like entire journey being actually like a good time.
Now, because you've had such a unique thing from documentaries to corporates to commercials, outside of obviously budget, what's been kind of like those biggest things or biggest changes that you've kind of had to adapt through on those three kind of filming categories?
I feel like from a director of photography point of view, it's just like one thing is just like getting away from worrying so much about the rig that you have in your hands for the shoot. I feel like when I started off, it was all about like the tech that you have in your hands because this is the best tech right now and this is brand new. It's just like, oh, the Sony FS700 is the only camera that has like internal slow motion interval shooting. So it's like that's what you need for this project. But like, oh, the Canon C200 has the Canon colors and like 10-bit or 4K raw or whatever. But now every camera kind of just does amazing at whatever you need. So it's just like I care now a lot less about the physical camera body that I'm working with. And I think that that's important, to not just get hung up on gear and not just get hung up on like the little additions and everything. Like your camera is a tool, or the camera that you have is a tool to be used, but what matters is what's happening on the other side of that. And it's just like as a director of photography, it's like as much as your job is to make sure that stuff is sharp, exposed right, um, and everything else within the camera, it's like equally as important is maintaining what's happening on the other side of the camera. So I feel like my focus has shifted to what's on the other side of the lens a lot more than just what's here in the camera, but in my hands.
So well said.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely, so well said. I'm actually really excited that that is what you're saying about that, because so much of us get hooked so much on that. They have to have the latest and greatest, or like they don't feel as though they can evolve to that next level in their career unless they have that.
Mhm.
And you're saying that that's
Yeah.
you don't have to have that to
And
succeed.
now there's just so much to know. It's just like I find myself in conversations often where like I'm just like nodding my head and I'm like, yeah, I know what you're saying. I was just like, I know what you're talking about, like pixel contrast ratio and like talking about like just like color depth and how many million. Like I'm just like, yeah. I'm just like, but like at the end of the day, it's like the people that are watching this are watching it and just like taking in what's happening on screen. It's like they don't care about like if you can make it look amazing because you're using the right lenses, you're using the right filtration, you're using interesting dynamic lighting and moves that like bring energy into the right spaces. You're using the camera like if you're understanding all of that, it's just like that's what's coming through to the audience. It's like they don't care that you shot it on a like you could shoot it on a GH5 and it would look amazing. I've shot stuff recently on like GH5, haven't used that camera forever. I'm just like, man, this just looks so freaking good. It's like, but then shooting on like a V Raptor, and it's just like, yeah, like it looks great too. It's just like,
So with that being said, then what does your current kit look like?
yeah, I think that my current kit is not like super up to date, I would say, in comparison, but it's like, I don't know. I have a hard time getting away from it. So I have a C300 Mark III that I bought 5 years ago.
You're still making money off of it.
I guess it's got like 1 trillion hours on it, and like, but man, like I've taken that camera to like shoot on the ice roads in Northwest Territories in literally minus 60-degree weather, and like it was fine. It was totally fine. It's like I brought it to LA shooting like in the middle of the scorching heat. It's like it's done everything, and it always works.
Incredible.
It always works. And the cables always work, and the monitor always works, and the buttons always work. And it's just like me being in a documentary space, I'm just like, that's what I need. It's like I need something that I know will stay working and stay together and has a certain level of robustness to it. I've been swapping. I recently like offloaded all of my Canon glass and have moved fully over to Diesel, which I think is really like cool. Like I bought the full set of zooms and the full set of Vespid primes, which I really like. So using that instead, that was a big move for me from getting away from just shooting on stills glass.
What about grip and lighting?
I don't own any gripper lighting.
You don't know anything.
None. I don't own a single light.
No desire.
I
to.
never will.
Never will.
I will never own a light.
Interesting. Why is that?
Because I feel like everybody else has lights. So if I can rent those and bring them out like a la carte that I need per shoot, then that's perfect. It's like I know a huge amount of people that have amazing kits, from like large scale grip and lighting trailers to just like, hey, come and just like grab these Novas, or just come and grab these light panels or whatever that you need. And everybody is super great, and I'm just like, I don't have to store it then, which is a huge
Does take
thing.
up a lot of space.
Yeah, I'm just like I had like the last light that I bought. It's funny because I'm actually I think my wife uses it now for doing like makeup, and it's literally like a 1x1 Dracast panel that I bought Black Friday off B&H Photo like 9 years ago. It's got like a CRI of 3. Like that's the last light that I bought, and like I probably won't buy another one. Like honestly.
So then, what would you, or how would you suggest somebody that's either looking at buying a kit right now? How would you advise them? Or if somebody's looking at changing up their kit, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say a piece of advice that I've always given, and here's the thing. Here's where my mantra for this kind of came again. It's like this is kind of my experience. This is not everyone's experience. When I started shooting documentaries, it's like I was lucky enough that the production at the beginning of the production would buy the camera out, and that was just what they did. So it's like production's buying the FS700, production's buying back then the AF100, which was a horrible piece of junk.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah, really. So it was just like I was able to use these other cameras without actually having to buy it myself. So it's like you put in a lot of time. I was like, oh, these are things that I like about this Sony. These are things that I like. Eventually, I bought an FS5, which was like the next step up from the FS700. And I had that, and then it's like from there I moved to. I think I had some stuff in between that, and then eventually got to the C300 Mark III. So basically, it's like what I'll tell people is just like, just get your hands on other people's stuff if they're willing to let you use it. Like, don't sink all of your cash into just buying gear immediately, because then you're pigeonholing yourself to just knowing one thing. You're just like, oh, I'm obsessed with the way that my little rig is and my little rig looks. Then when somebody comes to you, it's like, hey, we want to shoot this 6K, or hey, we want to shoot this large format. It's just like, you're like, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that.
If you, I actually just ran into this the other day where somebody was looking at, they had a project coming up that they wanted. Their current camera wasn't able to meet what the client was wanting, but they were unsure about buying one. The one that they wanted was a little bit on the pricier side. Would you recommend maybe renting?
Always. Yeah,
always.
Just always rent stuff, unless you have a job that will pay for it plus, and then recurring work after that will continue to pay for it. Even then, don't buy a camera out. Just register a business and lease it. It's just like, I always tell people, like, don't just buy stuff out. It's just like, if you're making these big purchases, if you're dropping 10K on a camera body, it's like, lease it over 3 years or whatever it is. Figure that out. Write it all off.
So on that topic, like, how do you come up with your rate? How do you, or how has that rate evolved? We don't need to tell us exactly what your current rate is, but how have you come up with that over the years? And does that include your rental of your
Yeah.
kit? Do you mix it together? What does that look like?
When I was doing, I think it's different and unique per person. I would say now, um, the way that I do it is I always just bundle my gear into my rate. And it's just like, I think that that might not be right all the time. Um, because I do think that that's a way that like you can have be taken advantage over, like if you're young and just not charging too much, or not charging enough for the for what you're delivering. But I think like one piece of advice that I got from like my father-in-law years and years ago, who's been like an entrepreneur for years, he's just like, if you are super busy, you're probably not charging enough.
Mm.
So again, it's just like year over year, it's like my rate changes. It's like, and that I feel like was part of also how I was able, like I moved myself out of corporate into commercial. Was you kind of price yourself out of certain projects that exist, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just like I think that's an opportunity for people to come in and learn in different areas. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I think the rate stuff is interesting, and having kit fees makes sense. I just have never really like put too much effort into that. Like I don't own a ton of stuff personally. It's just like a lot of the like my camera sits idle a lot of the times, because I just don't use it, and I'm looking to upgrade, and I don't know where I want to go yet for my next upgrade.
So then would you just kind of get paid for your time then? And then the production would rent out a camera,
Yeah,
grip
or
light,
they'll
or something like
have
that?
it. Like sometimes directors will just like have what they want, or production companies will just be like, "Well, this is the camera that we shoot on." Um, Again, it's like my C300 has been a really great kind of jackknife of a camera for years and years and years. I mean, we shot a commercial on it this past summer that was shown at the Olympics, and nobody would know that it was a C300 Mark III. Like
I mean, a
it
few
looks,
hundred people, million people saw that.
yeah, like literally. We had an amazing like vintage ingenue. I think it was like a 20 to 85, really cool old like only super 35 lens, zoom lens that we shot on it. It was amazing, and that brought the whole look together. We had some really cool filtration as well.
So would you almost say like almost don't get caught up on the rate, just kind of start off with something, and then almost let your busyness, the amount of times people are calling you up, almost justify that rate increase,
Mhm.
right? And almost kind of continue to increase your rate almost based off of how busy you are. Start off $200, $500, $800, like
Yeah.
whatever, wherever you kind of feel as though your rate is, and then just like you said, as you get busier, increase your rate, bring that
Yeah,
down.
I think as you get busier and as you like increase your skill set, I think that a challenging way to do that early on is just by like buying gear and hoping that that's going to move your rate up, because like I think that that's hard, and I just think that gear is so available that everyone has it that it's just like a lot of times people aren't going to be like, no, I don't need you to bring that like very niche random thing. Sometimes, but not always. Um, but yeah, it's just like I think it's important to continue to develop yourself on sets and putting in the time. Like I put in, like I worked for literally no money for so long. Like those for like to be completely transparent, those first shows that I shot when I started back in like 2012, like those first TV shows, I was no, I didn't have my camera. I was using the production's camera. I was working for $300 a day as a director of photography on a TV show. Like that's like shooting these shows that would be showing around the world. They were all being resold, all being repackaged. It was just like it's like I was making no money, but it's just like I learned so much. It's just like I made amazing contacts. It's just like, and despite how back then it was a lot for me. I was able to pay off school like after like a year shooting, but it took me like I had to shoot like 4 shows in 1 year to pay off like a line of credit from school. So I worked so much, but it's just like I learned a ton, and I took that away, and I took those contacts away, um, and that was just a stepping stone to just like the next thing, the next thing. And I think if you just like even just ask people that are working being like, hey, it's just like, how much do you think that this is worth? It's like, I try to be really, really fair with even stuff that I'm producing. It's like, I try to be really, really fair. I try to up people's rates when I can. Um, but it's like, yeah, I think that you gotta be willing to talk about it and ask about it.
Now, can you break down kind of a little bit of what the different or what the crew size is that you're normally working with underneath you? We're kind of the whole version of this whole podcast series is that we understand what all the different departments are, what all the
Mhm.
different jobs and positions are. What is your general size looking like on the projects that you're working on?
Yeah, I would say if I had to break it across an average, probably like 8 to 12 would probably be like an average size, and that's like a two-person camera team, so AC, director of photography. That's your grip gaffer position. Um, Probably 2 to 3 swings, director, hair and makeup, sound sometimes. Um, yeah, that's kind of 10-ish. Some PAs. Sometimes like a camera trainee. So sometimes a 3-person camera crew, camera team.
And so with a grip and lighting team about that size, where do you kind of start seeing your limitations, or where do you start seeing that kind of fall behind or struggles?
Like saying that that's small.
No, just in the sense where like because you're doing a variety of different size projects,
Mhm.
right? It isn't just like gaffer and your key grip are enough sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You have to have some extra swings. You have to have dedicated people. Like, where do you kind of feel that you need to add or subtract crew based off
Mhm.
the project that you're doing, right? Because so many times a project will be like, here's a ton of money for gear
Yeah.
because we get it for free. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's all cheap, but
Yeah.
we're not going to give you any crew.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
do you fight back and say no, we don't have enough, or we need to increase that budget
Yeah. Mhm.
for, or where would you start seeing those
Yeah.
struggles as a DP with either guys or gear based off the project you're working
I think crew size is really, really dependent again on just project output and the complexity of what it is that you want to do. A few like rules that I have is just like if we're doing anything that involves like shooting at night or like in the cold, it's like you just automatically add like 30 to 40% more crew just to like make up for the sadness of everybody else. So like that's a big thing. Um, yeah, just the amount of time that you're doing. It's just like if we have 2 days to do something that's fairly simple, it's just like I would rather have like a really, really tight team than too many people where it can just get like confusing and people end up standing around and it's just like it can just be too much. I also just like to know generally everybody like on the team that I'm working with, like all, on the G&E team, PAs, everyone. I'd love to just kind of like be able to talk to everybody. The biggest crew that we had this past year was on this Turo commercial that we did, and we had 35 people on the crew, and that was for me the biggest crew that I had ever been involved with. And I think just like with the amount of crew that we had, it's just like the amount of pre-production we had to do only had to be that much greater.
on? And so you bring up a good point. Like, how much then pre-production time are you involved with then?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's the onset stuff, but are you fielding tons of phone calls, emails days beforehand? Like you said
Mm.
before, you're doing the tech scouts. Like, how much extra work are you putting into? And then
Yeah.
how does that almost look when you're now doing potentially multiple
Mm-hmm.
projects at the same time? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's got to be confusing at some point.
Yeah. I would say that ultimately my job is to allow the director to operate in a creative space and a creative freedom that they need from not having to just deal with people. So it's just like, and deal with crew. So it's just like if I am the liaison or the barrier between crew questions or G&E team or camera team questions, if I'm the wall that those questions come to instead of the director, it's like that's me doing my job. So it's just like leading up to a shoot, it's like I don't necessarily like discuss and negotiate rates and stuff like that. I just say, hey, this is how much this person's asking for. Does that fit in the budget? I either get a yes or a no. But it's like I'm in charge of making sure that that person understands creatively like what we're doing. So before we're even reaching out, it's like I do a lot of drawings. Like I understand the drawings. I feel like a lot of people that look at my drawings don't understand them because my handwriting is so bad.
Now, when you're saying drawings, you're specifically referring
Lighting
to
diagrams.
lighting
Lighting
diagrams.
diagrams, yeah. Those are huge for me, especially post location scout, getting into a space and just understanding like what you're dealing with, and building that out, and then communicating that vision to the people that are on the team.
Now you're taking those lighting diagrams and you're sending that to your gaffer and your key grip and the production as well. And then are you the one usually facilitating the ordering of the gear with the production, or do you leave that then up to the gaffer and the key grip to sort out with production and then they talk back to you?
I don't necessarily know like what the traditional way is.
Yeah, sorry,
that.
more referring to what
Yeah,
your
for
way.
me, it's just like I like being pretty hands on with that. Yeah, I like being pretty hands on with that. Oftentimes, it's like I like if I'm brought stuff and if there's more stuff than what I put in the diagram, I'll figure out a way to use all of it. It's just like I'm a huge advocate of just emptying the trailer and using everything. If the time is available, if the pre-light time is available, if we have that, it's just like that's just kind of the way that I roll. I know that that can be frustrating sometimes, but also like keeping in mind like what load in and load out areas look like, crew happiness, the amount of people. Those are just things that I think about. But it's like I like to use stuff if we have
It's
it.
toys. You
It
got to
is.
use it as long as you have the manpower and the time to
Exactly.
do
As
it.
long as it's not going to cause a huge stress, run us over time, or whatever, it's like I'll use it. So yeah, I think that that's kind of like my approach with that.
Love it. Has there been any big surprises along the way that you're like, man, I didn't see this one coming as being a DP?
I feel like every single set there's surprises. I feel like at your job, I feel like half your job as a DP is just like problem solving. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that an entire train existed over there, or like I didn't realize that the sun was going to reflect off that building over there and blast through this window. It's just like, okay, it's like how do we just approach that stuff? I'm trying to think of something specifically.
So you before had mentioned that you've been around the world a little bit. You've gone to some pretty cool places. Do you have any crazy adventures that you've been on that you can share with us, or any like super cool projects that you're just like, wow, like this was really neat to do?
Yeah, where would be? I've found myself in some places where I'm just like, I just don't belong here at all. Like when I was like early on in my career shooting at Ultra Music Festival in Miami on South Beach. I was like 24 years old or something like that. And I just like all of a sudden found myself on like a rooftop party sponsored by Red Bull with Skrillex and like 100 MLB baseball players. And I was just like, I don't know how I got here. I was just like, I'm just like a skinny little dork wearing my like American Eagle with my collared pop, just like trying to be a cool camera guy. And I was just like, so there's been moments like that. There's been other really cool moments like when I was shooting a short doc about forest fires in the Yukon a couple summers ago, and we were helicoptering into like thankfully inactive but formerly forest fire zones to study regrowth. And it was just like this crazy thing of just like being in a helicopter, being set down in a swamp, having to jump out, all of a sudden being up to your knees in like muck, and then like the helicopter leaving and you're just in the middle of nowhere.
How many people were with you?
So we had 2 separate helicopter trips, about 8 of us.
Okay, so 8 of you jumped out of the helicopter.
Yeah, 4 per time. 2 different helicopters, 4 per time. But it was just like, I was like, what am I doing here? I was like, there's nothing around. I was just like, all right, guess like we're just making stuff. So that was wild. Spent some time in Jacksonville this past year. Spent a week there filming this really cool new documentary that I'm working on with some really talented people. And just like listening to some crazy stories. And we were filming in like the oldest jail in like Florida. And it was just like horrifying. So I'm just like, and like I'm sitting in there like shooting this artsy shot through like the bars and like the doors closing, like it's super haunted and terrifying. And you just kind of find yourself in these spaces.
You also have one where you really kind of maybe gave it more than your all or more than you should have on a project.
Yeah, I definitely gave a lot on the. If it's what I think you're referencing, yeah, I had it one time where I was filming an event. I was filming the King's Plate, which is it's like the Kentucky Derby of Canada. I think is like the best way to reference it. It's the largest horse race here in Canada at Woodbine. And I had been outside filming all day, and the final race started. It's just like there's like 18 races leading up, or 15 races leading up to this, and then the one race happens.
How hot has it been all day?
Thousands of degrees. Thousands of degrees. Super hot all day.
Not drinking.
Nope, working. And we were outside in the middle of this track.
So super hot, no water. Haven't been drinking all day.
I'll paint the picture. There's grandstands, probably 20,000 people sitting in the grandstands. There's this giant horse track. This is the last race. This is like the race that like the Lieutenant Governor of Canada is there. Like sometimes the Prime Minister's there. Like I think the Queen used to come sometimes. And it's this 1.5 lap race, and I'm in the middle ring facing the grandstands filming. So the gun goes off and these horses start to run, and all of a sudden I lose feeling in my hands and in my feet. And I'm standing in there filming, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Next thing you know, I pass out as these horses are coming by. There's a promo video out there, and you can see my shot in there. I still I'm lying on the ground trying to get this, and they zip by, and I'm lying on the ground, just passed out. If you watch the broadcast, you can literally see me just lying on the ground. People like in the broadcast, it looks like I'm trying to get a
somewhere
shot.
we might be able to grab.
Yeah, probably. It was bad. I can send you the screenshot from yeah, I'll tell you after. But so anyways, they go past. I'm lying on the ground out on the racetrack. They zip by, the race ends. I'm lying on the ground, and all of the crowd comes down to go onto the racetrack, and I'm laying there completely sweaty and like soaking wet, and I just start puking lying there on the racetrack. And this guy comes and he's like, there's a race happening in 15 minutes. You have 15 minutes to get yourself figured out. And I'm just like on the ground, dead. They ended up having to get me in an ambulance and like stretcher me off the racetrack. Wow. And they told me that I had heat stroke. So they're like, here, have a Gatorade and you'll be fine. Anyways, like the next 24 hours, I basically like threw up 45 times. And ever since then, it's been dubbed the Woodbine virus. And that's the only time that I've done that on set. It was really bad.
So, I mean, that's wild. And a lot of us have definitely pushed ourselves, never to that extent. I mean, what would you have done differently? Like looking back at that.
Here's the thing: I wouldn't even say that I was pushing through. It was just suddenly. It was like feeling totally fine, having a great day, suddenly dead. So, I don't know. Yeah, I think that it was, and thankfully it was at the end of the day. The director I was working at was like, just like went into like full mom mode and was just like taking care of me and like making sure I was fine, and like it was crazy.
I mean, these maybe not so much of the health extremes, but I mean, these are some of the things that we just enjoy being on set for. Like these are the stories that we get to share, the things that we've survived through.
And every time I go back there, it gets brought up, which I really like.
There you go. So where can anybody get in touch with you if they're looking at wanting to hire you as a DP or anything like that?
No.
Any socials or anything
Nobody
like
can
that?
get in touch with me.
Copy that. Okay, no worries.
Again, you can just follow me on Instagram. Just my name @TimHutchison.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to throw that in the show notes for people if they're interested in following up. But thank you very much, Tim, for joining us today. Thank you as well for checking us out and for tuning in. Remember, if you feel as though you've been entertained, you've enjoyed this, you've learned something, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. I'm your host, Tony Smith. Until next time, film on.